Hey guys, welcome to the inaugural Samet Industries podcast. That's right. On the Facebook group, I asked you all for ideas. What do you want to see from Samet Industries for 2024? And this was like the number one suggested answer. A lot of people said, hey, how about some sort of podcast, some sort of interview, some sort of history lesson, some facts and tidbits and all that sort of stuff. So here we are. We're doing it. Now, this current setup probably won't be our permanent deal, but this is the best corner of our house currently that's not full of crap. So we have a nice
parts, so.
Yeah. I mean, that might count as crap. So we have our wall back here. So the idea for this podcast, at least for the first few episodes, will be mostly an audio only deal. So if you want to, you can just pull this up on YouTube, minimize it, play in the background, and go about your day. Scroll through your phone. There's not a whole lot of content to look at on the screen. In the future, that might change. I might have a couple of these where we might do a bit of a slideshow. I might pull up some pictures, pull up some examples, small things like that. If that is the case, I will try to let you guys know ahead of time so that you can check it out on the screen. But otherwise, this will just be like a standard podcast format thing where I also happen to be recording some video.
Heck, maybe you could give it a like on Spotify and on YouTube. Why not?
Maybe we could set up on Spotify.
Yeah.
Maybe we could put it. Do people do things on Apple anymore? I have no idea. All right, fine. Spotify, maybe. We'll see.
I don't know.
So, very excited for this, to have some community involvement, some engagement with you guys, some interviews and stuff. But we're going to start off today with this lovely lady right here.
Hey.
This, in case you guys don't know, is my wife, Michelle.
Okay.
Actually, what am I doing? Introduce yourself. Hey.
Hi.
Who are you?
Who am I? So I know you pretty well. So I'm Michelle Samet. I am all things awesome. I don't know. I run Samet Industries along with this handsome man I know well.
Actually, yeah, technically, I'm not an employee of Samet Industries. We are officially Samet Industries LLC, and that right there, that is the CEO.
I am CEO. I am CFO. I am all things.
Our only employee.
Sole proprietorship, I think, is what the legal ramifications are there. But that doesn't mean Will doesn't play a huge part. He's mostly just the big ideas guy, and I am the make sure things get done kind of gal. So anything Samet Industries, the Festiva store, that is something that I kind of do on my non-existent downtime. Because beyond that, I'm not really a crazy car nerd. I'm a math nerd. I teach math at a high school. So I've been loving that for a long time. That's what my degree's in. Unfortunately, I should have gotten a degree in business, but here I am.
I think you're kind of downplaying saying you're not a car nerd. You might be past that by now.
It's not my fault, okay? Because when you decide you like somebody and they ask you what your dream car is, you kind of have to have an answer, especially if you're dating and you kind of want to hang out with this guy for a while. So that was something I had to figure out. Otherwise, maybe he won't like me anymore. So it's not my fault. It's really your fault.
Okay, fine. I'll take the blame for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that being said then, what is your favorite car?
Ooh, great question. This question was first posed to me back in the day. What year was it? Who knows?
It was probably 2014 that I asked you.
Yeah, 2014. 2014, Will and I had just graduated high school. We were both in college, and he, out of the blue, asked me, so what's your favorite car? I'm like, you mean people have favorite cars?
Favorite color. Doesn't everybody just have one?
No. I mean, most normal humans, I don't think do. So when you asked me that years ago now, almost 10 years ago now, wow, I had to really think about it. I was like, well, I don't know, but I'll figure it out. And I was actually walking on campus one day at the University of Illinois, and I saw this car that was the most gorgeous color I've ever seen. It was this pretty blue metallic, like when you looked at it in a different way, it was like, ooh. And it turns out, because I just took a picture of it, I didn't know what it was. I brought it back to Will and I said, this is it. This is the car. And he started looking into it, and it's a Mazda RX-8, and in the most unique color possible, Phantom Blue. So that immediately became my favorite car. If he ever asked me about it, or anybody else did for that matter, because everybody, I guess, asks, that was it. That was the dream. And
of course, when she first showed it to me, immediately I thought, oh no, it's a terrible decision picking an RX-8 as a favorite car. I was like, I mean, you don't have to. Your dream car doesn't have to be like obtainable necessarily, but an RX-8 is cheap enough to be obtainable, but I did not want to deal with the maintenance of a rotary. Even back then, I knew rotary was a curse word among car enthusiasts.
Honestly, when you first described what a rotary was and showed me the rouleau symbol, it instantly became even more my favorite because having a curved triangle as a math nerd myself, I don't even know if I had switched to being a math major by that point. But it was instantaneously one of my favorite things because I was like, it's so cool. It's not just a regular stupid engine. It's a rotary engine. So
mathematical.
Even exactly. So even though it was something that you knew would be a bad idea in the long run, I thought makes it even more cool. So yeah, and thankfully I was actually able to obtain this dream car. This was something that, I never really worried about. My cars get me from A to B. I don't need to stress about having a nice car. What was I driving at that time?
For the people, then I'll ask you, do you remember what your first car was that you technically owned yourself?
There's a lot of cars. The first one that was legally in my name was the Cavalier. Chevy Cavalier 2001, probably? 2003. Okay. Yeah. But I had driven a lot of cars before then. I think at that time, when you asked me, every time I went home, I was driving this Lincoln or driving something else, like, just borrowing your parents' car or whatever it is. And
so do you want me to tell you your car history for you?
No, it's fine. I mean, maybe the viewers would want to know. What did I have?
Jelly Bean Ford Taurus.
Good times. I don't know what happened to that. I'll have to ask.
Somebody else wrecked it.
Oh, okay. Good. It wasn't me.
A 98 Buick LeSabre.
Oh yeah. Oh, I wrecked that one. That was not my fault. Listen, it was a wintry, weathery night. I was going to volunteer. Okay, I was going to volunteer. You can't be too mad at someone who literally gets an accident on their way to volunteering. Anyway.
And then it was a Lincoln LS, 06, deep purple.
Was so nice. Ooh, primo. I still blame Will for that accident. Yep.
Sure. And then you bought from your parents basically an 03 4-door automatic Cavalier.
Wow. I can't believe you remember all of them. Oh, but time out. I did drive that manual S10.
You drove a manual second gen black single cab S10 for a very small little while.
I liked that.
You also, I don't know if you remember this, you drove a Ford Escort ZX3 hatch for a very short while.
What's it?
It was like a maroon color, 3-door Focus hatch.
That was red? I had a red Focus
like dark maroon, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember. It's crazy when you remember cars. You don't always remember, like, I don't know, at least for me. I remember, like, where I was when certain things happened. So I remember driving that Ford Focus just to the Hoopston Library because I was tutoring a kid. Like, I was hustling, okay? I was doing good things.
I literally saw it
in high school.
I saw it once in the parking lot.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to it.
No idea.
I don't know. We'll have to get Rex and Rex on for an interview at some point too, because he supplied most of those cars.
So you can list how many of his cars his children have wrecked?
Yes. Number 1, can you count all the children you've cared for? And number 2, can you count how many cars they have wrecked?
Yeah, we'd be here all day.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
If you're watching Rex, thanks for letting all your kids borrow your cars.
Thanks. Did you ever think it would turn into this? I didn't. Yeah.
I didn't.
Well,
for the record, when we started dating, I didn't even know what a Festiva was. So
it's very true.
I didn't think we'd come to this.
With this interview in mind, I was actually thinking about it in terms of, my dream car was and is the RX-8. And spoiler alert, I got one. I remember even the day we decided to get one, the day I decided to get one, we weren't even married at this point, okay? And
True.
We were on our way, I think, to Ohio Siva. Shout out to Ohio Siva, one of the best meets of crazy car people of all time. But we were on our way there, and I was like, why are we always doing your car stuff? Why don't I start looking into my car stuff? So then I just started looking up Phantom Blue, RX-8s. And of course, we lived in Illinois at the time, and I just really wanted to find one that would last, that was rust-free. And that's when I found one in California.
Also worth noting, Phantom Blue was only offered for 2 years for the RX-8, so it's a 2-year only color. So you're looking for a 2-year only color on an already hard-to-find car, and you didn't want to have any rust.
Yeah, so very limited options. But that weekend is when we found one in California, And I immediately started talking to the small town dealership that was selling it. And at the time, I had a friend over there, that's basically a cousin to me. And I thought, well, I could just fly over there and pick it up and drive it home, right? I'm an adult. I can do this. So at that time, I flew out. Nobody knew I was going. I think it was also because I had just graduated college, and you and I were bound to get married in just a couple months' time. And that weekend, I didn't tell anyone I was going except my good friend who dropped me off at the airport. Shout out to Julie, the best. And probably Rhoda, because she took us out for lunch.
Yeah.
And so we went wedding dress shopping one day, flew out the next day, and I drove the car home that next Monday after staying with Katie for a little bit. That is a whole story in itself, because that was an incredible trip.
Should we do a whole podcast based on the RX-8?
Gosh. Yeah, how
your
did you
RX-8
manage
journey?
to get your RX-8 from California all the way to Illinois. What kind of things happened there? Lots happened there. It was wild. Maybe if this gets enough views, I was actually saying you should probably put a snapshot of that. Maybe if this gets enough views, we can do a separate story.
Everybody should put it in the comments.
Yes.
2 things to put in the comments. What was your first car? Any of our viewers? So, I can see myself in the mirror. Look at that. What was your first car? Yeah. First of all, and second of all, who wants to hear the lengthy RX-8 tale?
The RX-8 saga.
Oh, I know I was gonna say we might show some photos. So anybody who's listening to this, it's a cute photo of me and Michelle on our wedding day.
Back when I just thought, we just have some silly cars. So I bought the car literally the day after buying my wedding dress. Drove it home, straight home to Illinois. It was a crazy time. I had terrible phone issues. It's a lot.
Wild.
It was wild.
This is our wedding day. Look at that. Her and her RX-8 with its California plate still on it, and JD and Festiva V1 right before I actually ended up losing it.
And actually, I think at this time, this might have been the only Festiva you had.
I had 2. I had V2 at the time. I had the shell, but it's still just a shell.
Right.
It was
so
just
at this point in my mind, I'm marrying a man who's into cars. But no one warned me that being into cars no one warned me that being into cars was going to lead to what it has. So I just would like to put on record that I was proposed and married to a man under false pretenses that being into cars meant you had one car, you had one dream car, and if that car needed, some rust improvements, you just got a new shell and you built that shell. You didn't buy 5, 10, 20 of them. So what happened with that?
Okay, well, I think into cars is one term, and then there's whatever you call what we're doing.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, throw that in the comments too. If you know what this is called, I don't know if there's a medical condition.
Some sort of problem.
If there's some addiction help we can get.
Yeah, I think I didn't think I'd be at this point either.
Yeah.
Back then, I thought Festivas were really cool, and I was getting into the community, but I wasn't like a figurehead or anything. I didn't have a huge plan or anything. Owning a store was not at that point in time. I think my biggest dream goal was to own a set of coilovers. I was like, if I get coilovers that Charlie Whitney guy was using, that would be the coolest thing on earth if I could do that.
Yeah. So obviously most people listening right now know us as the Samets, as Will, that guy who's got a Festiva. But for those of you that don't know, we've had a ton. Not only do we do Samet Industries, but we do Samet Industries acting as the Festiva store, and we make and get parts that we can then distribute to people that need to keep these 30-year-old cars on the road. We've had countless, I don't know, maybe at some point we can actually do a real count and have a nice slideshow of that. But
how many Festivas we've had?
Yeah. So even though, my dream car,
which is crazy because that still pales in comparison to how many a lot of people who've been in the game for a while have had.
Oh, so true.
It's just crazy that you hear about people who are car enthusiasts. I'd be like, oh yeah, how many cars do you have? Like, oh, we have 10 of just Festivas, just that one car. We have 10 of those. And people are like, you have what? And there's other people in the group who are like, you only have 10? You don't have a field of 40? We've got 30 just in the barn.
I think that's what's going to make this
See, I guess I gotta grow.
most No, absolutely not. We're going to stop that there. But I think that's what's going to make this podcast the most interesting is getting to know other people in the community, maybe people that, I don't even know or you don't know very well, and learning about their history with these silly cars and what makes this, I don't want to call it a cult, but what makes this crazy community what it is. So
yeah, a lot of people watching this actually might not even know that we did not make the Festiva store.
Yeah,
that was not our creation. Instead, Ben Williams actually made the store. He started it, and he's been running it for years and years. I mean, in the terms of how long it's existed, we only took over recently. Honestly,
we'll have to get Ben Williams.
It'd be another good podcast to have. Talk to Ben about his Festiva history and the store history.
Yeah,
the good old days, the OG days. Festiva Motorsports, which is not around anymore. That used to be a big deal. Tons of that old stuff. I know a lot of people on the Facebook page were looking to see, like, hey, can you get some of the OG people on here, get some of the stories, the old history of the group? Because I mean, even in terms of the group, I'm relatively new. I didn't get my first Festiva until 2015, so I'm not even 10 years into this yet.
Yeah.
And there's guys who've been here so long. Like we talk about the forums. The Facebook group is called FordFestiva.com. It's because we are actually based on the original forums, FordFestiva.com. And those started, I think, in 2004, I want to say, somewhere around that time. And then before even then, there was a Yahoo group. Like Yahoo used to have like a forum/chat group feature way back in the day. There were guys starting the group on that back in like 2000. So there have been the guys online in the Festiva space doing a lot of stuff well before I even knew what a Festiva was, before I really knew what a car was, honestly. So I mean, I hope to do some of that on this thing. It's really cool to have both sides of the coin. We have people getting into Festivas right now on the group who are like 15 and 16, it's their first car, and there's a lot of those guys on the group. It's cool to see how many young people are still in this sort of thing. And then you also have so many older members that have been around for a long time, doing the OG mods, inventing the forums, doing the OG build threads and stuff. And then we have guys older than that have been around forever who bought their first Festiva new.
Yeah.
There are still a ton of people in the group who bought theirs new and still have them.
And honestly, I know one of the questions is always like, what led me to decide to get my own Festiva and why I put up with a lot of this stuff. Because
do you remember what day it was when you got your very first Festiva?
Oh, I sure do. But it was after we had already gone to a couple of Festiva meets together. And every time you go to a Festiva meet with all these crazy people that love these cute little cars, it's really just a good excuse to meet people, make friends. I still remember our first ever meet was Lake Stiva, which was awesome, hosted by Megan and William. That was a really nice introductory meet because it's just a day long and you just meet a bunch of people and you see all their different cars.
And for us, only a 2.5 hour drive from where we were living.
It wasn't super far, so that was really nice. We got to convoy with a bunch of people. Sarah was hosting.
I think I was 18, so I just barely had moved out of my parents' place. So not wanting to go too far from home yet.
Yeah. But it was really cool because you got to see like the variety of people that are there. You got to make friends with people that are way older than you, way younger than you. And there were a ton of people that were still in kind of our same like span of life, people that are just finishing school or just getting married. And that was really cool to me because, it can be really hard to make friends after college and whatnot. You make friends at work, but you don't have friends that you can just call up and say, hey, you want to hang out in the garage for a little while or you want to run errands with? And so, you're meeting people that we talk to a lot online, but it was a really cool experience. So when the opportunity to buy my first Festiva came about, I was head over heels, still in this honeymoon phase. It was our 1 year anniversary of being married, and this crazy car comes up for sale.
Day of.
And
August 5th, 2018. Literally the day of our anniversary.
Yep.
And a
this
$600
handsome man looks at me and he's like, you want to buy a car today? You want to get your own Festiva? And how could I say no?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. He has been talking about them for years. They're literally in my wedding photos. I had crazy Festiva guys sleeping at my house the night before my wedding a year prior. I knew it was something super important to him. And, it'd be kind of nice to have my own little something too. At this point I had the RX-8, but I didn't really want to modify the RX-8. I kind of wanted it to just be my nice daily. And so it could be something that like turns into my own project. That's another thing that I loved about Festivas is everyone you see is so different and so unique to that person.
When you go to your first meet, there's not a single one there that looks the same. You look at it like, oh, you imagine like 7 stock red ones, like who's here. But no, there's just in your wheel choices makes your car so different, and then everybody has different mods they do. Do you go painted bumpers or not painted bumpers, or what stickers do you put on it, stuff? Like it's crazy how different they can start to look when you put just a bit of work into it.
Yeah, so at this point, we'd been married for a year, and I was just,
and I was
blinded by love.
Pushing some practicality at that point, too, because I just started to amass some spare parts.
Sure.
So, like, I didn't have spare parts laying around for a Cavalier, but if we had a Festiva brake, I probably had a spare part for it. We knew how to get them, and they were cheap.
Yeah.
Parts were cheap. It has much better on gas than the RX-8. And I think at the time, you were still a little concerned with wearing out the RX-8.
I was a little worried about putting too many miles on the RX-8 because I knew that if everything was correct and this was a reman, I think I was sitting at like I don't remember, but
like 120K.
Was it 120?
I think you had like 58,000 on the reman, which was like had like a lifespan of like 75K.
Yeah, so I was definitely.
So it's like looking at the thing and seeing like, oh, I've got 15,000 miles left before something is gonna happen.
Yeah,
a really bad feeling to have when you're driving.
Even though I think one madness we went to, I actually drove the RX-8. I think it was the same year I got the RX-8, so that way we could say it's coast to coast.
It's a big spoiler for your RX-8 dedicated podcast. That's a good title right there, the Transcontinental RX-8.
Yeah. See, I mean,
a Michelle Samet story.
What's cool is like, yeah, we're into Festivas, but what I think is going to also be interesting is to find these other people that have 10 Festivas, but also, okay, so what do you daily drive? What's your dream car? Like, Festivas are great, but we all know that everybody else has something else they're driving or something else that's in their wheelhouse, right? So I think that'll also be kind of cool to learn about people. Even just when it comes to people that we know, like we just got a new Ford Maverick, and what do you know? George is the one that convinced us kind of to get one. So, it seems to be that people that get into these old Ford Festivas also have the same kind of intuition when it comes to other cars that they might daily drive as well. So
back to you then getting yours.
Yeah.
August 5th. Beautiful M3 blue metallic comes up, automatic, some rust, wheels. John Deere green, spray painted, Geo Metro Steelies.
My favorite colors are blue and green, but those green wheels had to go. It was so bad. Like, that is not it at all. I'm trying to think of like some other crazy mods we did to it. We painted the wheels.
Do you remember when we took it home?
I kind of do. I think we had some issue pop up when we brought it home.
The radiator physically exploded about 15 miles from home.
Sounds about right.
Turns out the cooling fan connection was quite intermittent. I figured it out at a gas station because it kept getting hot, and I'd refill it and get hot. And I feel like, it's just a fan. Thought I'd fixed it because I got to the point where if you wiggle it, it would stay on. I was like, all right, we're good to go. We'll finish the trip. And then literally on the interstate, like 15 miles from home, I was like, hey, how fast do you think it could go? We should see what the top speed of an auto is. Because at this point, I'd already found the top speed of my manual was like 108. I was like, I know the automatic's like screaming on the interstate, but that means you're probably in the power band. Let's top it out. Why not?
And I think at this point, I still, I could drive manual, but I didn't love it.
Not confident with it.
Until you drive it truly every single day, you're not going to feel confident in it. Like, I could get it going. Like, I drove that manual S10 for a while. Like, you could do what you had to get where you needed to go, but I was never really confident in it. I'm trying to remember what manual I drove the most. It was probably just the Protege. The Protege, and that's why I tell people if I ever teach somebody to drive a manual, I would absolutely teach them on the Protege.
Especially if the swap, that clutch is fairly forgiving, but there's a ton of torque with the V6. Very easy to drive.
100%. So at that time, Will was kind of hesitant about it being automatic, but I was adamant that I did not want to drive manual every day. I did not need that added stress to figuring out how to get from A to B. So
is that another spoiler? Spoiler alert, the RX-8 is not manual.
Oh, don't tell him that.
Criminal.
They're going to immediately turn off this. Stop
listening.
If
this was a live video, we'd see the viewership tank right now.
Yeah, don't stop listening. Listen, I've grown up.
Yeah, don't hear it. Stick around, because maybe we'll talk about new items coming to the Festiva's tour.
Yeah, true.
I'm not going to tell you when we're going to talk about it. You have to stick around and find out.
gotta, I guess, listen to the whole thing.
Darn.
But yeah, so we started modifying it pretty quickly after that. I'm trying to
Yeah,
think of
because
all the
I think we
things.
hit 93, and out of nowhere there was like a huge just cloud of smoke very suddenly. I was like, oh my god, we pushed it too hard. We've blown it up.
Yeah.
And pulled over, and I was like, oh no, just the entire neck of the radiator has just cracked off and gone who knows where.
It happens, you know, but
I don't remember how we even got it home from that point.
I don't even know.
Because at that point, I didn't.
A lot more than
I didn't
do.
really. I don't really tow stuff. I can't remember. Did we tow? Did I flat
You might have
strap it
You might have.
the last like 10 miles, and we went the back way home?
Probably. I don't even.
We
remember.
lived in town, so that the back way was a bit of a sneaky thing to try to do.
Yeah, we probably have some crazy pictures. We'll have to see if we have anything.
But I do remember the first thing we did was paint those wheels.
Yes. Oh my gosh, those were awful. And then one of the other things we wanted to do was like, okay, so what are you going to do it? Like, what are you going to name it? Like any of those things. And I really wanted to go for like this blackout look, like this really like low key blacked out look. And so we blacked out the taillights. I started calling it Blackberry. Because it looks like a berry, but it's real dark.
We did like graphite metallic spray paint for the wheels.
And I learned how to tint my own windows.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you get a quote for like $500 and you paid $600 for that car, you gonna learn how to tint your own windows. So somehow there was less hair in our house, and I tinted those windows in our house. One huge benefit to the Festiva is taking the windows completely out. The 4 windows, at least, is super easy.
Oh yeah, cinch.
Yeah,
Just Phillips screws.
I think those windows are now living on Danny's car.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah, I think
she has your old windows.
Yeah. So, and those are pretty nice. Hope those are still going strong. But yeah, we just started modifying it, and then it wasn't until
did blue manual front seat belts and black manual back ones, then paint all the plastics black.
Yeah. Yeah, just wanted to give it that blacked out look.
Found some clear taillights so that they were black and clear, no red. I think you also ended up with a spoiler. We painted that the same dark metallic charcoal color.
Yep. But even now, though, I still prefer my current Festiva for sure over that one. Like, you can definitely tell, you know, we were new to the game. I didn't really know what I wanted it to look like. And it definitely still wasn't my favorite color Festiva.
And we had black Subaru leather seats in it that did not work very well. Because I adapted those to fit. I had to use like some bar stock and blow it all up. By the time I was done getting it to actually fit the car, it raised it like 1.5 inches. So it was way tall.
Oh, I hated them. It was
but they had seat heaters in them. And the long-term goal was to get the seat heaters plugged in so they would work.
Yeah.
And then I think we decided we were going to sell it before we got to that point.
Yeah. But Blackberry came all the way to Kentucky with us when we moved in 2019. So we did have it for quite a while. Actually, we packed it up. It was the first car to actually make it to Lexington when we were planning to move.
We popped the Cavalier, and I was then driving Blackberry to work every day because I wrecked V1, and V2 was not ready to be on the road yet.
Sure.
So I was driving the Cavalier for a bit, and then it just died.
Yeah.
So Blackberry was my driver to work. I daily drove that thing 100 miles a day for quite a few months.
Yeah, totally.
It did great.
Yeah. And it sat at George's apartment until we moved here.
Months.
Yeah, for months, actually, while we were looking for a place to live. We filled it up with stuff we knew we wouldn't need, and we just left it there because by the time we moved in 2019, we had a lot of cars we had to get here, right?
Yeah. We had to bring down...
Because even without the Cavalier, after we lost the Cavalier, we got the Protege.
I think we had 8 titled cars or 7 titled cars that we had to bring down.
It was a mess. That maybe is another story for another time. But that was my first Festiva, was that beautiful Blackberry. I was really proud of it. Doing a lot of the stuff ourselves was always really important. We took the nasty old carpet out and we put black carpet in. We just did a lot ourselves to make it mine. So yeah, it wasn't until and
a lot of the mods transferred over to your new one.
Yeah.
That same steering wheel is when we transferred over. The same spoiler, just with a better coat of paint.
Mm-hmm. So my next Festiva.
Taillights are living on another Festiva still. They've been on two.
True.
They've been on 2 Festivas after yours.
Are you serious?
Even. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Pretty sure we sold to Timothy, and Timothy recently sold them to somebody else.
Oh,
so now they're on another Festiva somewhere.
Well, I'm happy to hear it because it's cool when you put a lot of work into a car and then you have to sell it for whatever reason. It can be kind of hard, You're letting go something that you put a lot of love and effort into, but it's not yours, so they can start changing.
Very bad car salesman.
Yeah.
I get attached so quick.
Yeah. So, but after we got my new Festiva, not new now, but hopefully my last Festiva, yeah, I can't love something else. Okay, it's too much.
I'm also basically done buying them for permanent ones.
Then this is a great snap back for 2 years later, kind of will. Find that clip where you said you were done.
Okay, fine. Hopefully in 2 years I have the last one I want on my list and it'll be done.
Sure. So I don't remember, when did we get the Aqua? The big blue.
We were still in Illinois. It was like right before we moved because it was not road legal until the move. We rushed to get it running properly to get it to mom and dad's.
That's right. Yeah, because we bought it in Missouri. The guy had posted it for however much, and then after the guy posted it, some crazy druggies went in and tried to steal it. So there was a lot of issues, a lot of
and
things
trashed it. While they're in it, they just I don't know if they're looking for something, but they pulled the fuse box out from the interior and every fuse, and then they busted the locks out of it, threw all the plastics in the back. Yeah. They cut the battery out of it, so the entire battery harness and all the front wiring harness was just cut through, so they could take the battery out. So just taking the post off. Yeah.
So the guy knew I was pretty interested and reached back out to me, and he said, hey,
on a Tuesday, he called us back after we drove out to look at it. Or we're going to drive to look at it?
Yeah, I don't think we had yet. He called me and he said, because I think we hadn't
or maybe they said
on the price.
Yeah, he said, I have other people interested. We were like, it's kind of high for the price. Has some dents and stuff. We'll pass. Yeah. And then he called us, that was we were talking to him on Monday or Friday.
It was the next day.
Called us and Tuesday, middle of the day. I think we said $500 if you come get it right now. Yeah. I was like, yeah. Okay. Also, why? He's like, well, somebody kind of trashed it, but it's still it's not broken.
Yeah, but we drove down one day, just looked at it, gave him the money, left with the title, and then had to come back the next day to actually get the truck and trailer in order to pick it up.
Yeah, because we drove down in a Festiva, because he said it wasn't running quite right.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, I'll just bring the standard things I would think to rescue a field Festiva. A fuel pump, and he's like, it's not getting fuel probably, maybe not spark. I was like, all right, probably a fuse issue, probably just need the fuel pump. And then we show up, and he's like, oh, no, somebody got into it, actually. The battery's been cut out. Not just not removed. He's like, yeah, the battery's gone. I'm like, okay, I'll bring a battery. But what he didn't say was it was cut.
Literally cut.
And
who does that?
the entire fuel system, the fuel pump had no bolts holding it in. They broke all of them, and they shoved it in with orange RTV.
Yeah, but
and then RTV'd the plug in. Yes, that was on them.
Yeah.
Then no key and cylinder. The steering wheel was locked. We had to, while we were there, I borrowed a hammer and chisel from the guy and took out the headless bolts for the ignition just so we could turn the steering wheel to load it on the trailer.
Yeah, that's right. So we drove back and forth 2 days in a row just to rescue this Aqua out of the field, and it's been my Festiva ever since, because we started modifying that and making it what it is now. Put the cool decal on, gave it some really cool wheels from Japan. Yeah.
So I guess we'll have to have a whole other one for the Aqua.
Oh, I tell you. At some point, I do remember thinking to myself,
I'm thinking that might be a series, though. We'll do a members ride series.
A members ride. Oh, yeah.
Or subscribers rides or something.
Sure.
Because I think the podcast format probably isn't as good because I think people want to see it.
Sure. You know? This is at least for story time. This is for your late night story time. But yeah, totally. I actually talked to Will last year at some point, I think, about making our own podcast. I thought it would be cool just to go to people during Festiva meets and interview them. Ask them, how they found out about the meet, how long they've had a Festiva. Just ask them some cool questions to get to know them. Because there's a bunch of people, we went to Mountain Festiva last year, and there were a ton of people that I didn't know. And I thought it would be really cool kind of just to get the history behind who they are and what got them into these cars and what got them there. How do people find out about these crazy get-togethers with people that they only know on the internet? So, but yeah, I think it's a good idea just to kind of get to know more people in the community.
I think just to note, I've thought this is a good idea, but the reason I have not done it is because I think last year or the year before, I tried to film almost every meet we went to,
Yeah.
And then I actually like get involved in doing things or asking questions or helping people work on stuff because so many meets we do involve wrenching.
Totally.
And I do just quite enjoy going and wrenching. So I get home, I realize I have like maybe 20, 30 minutes worth of good footage. I'm like, if I edit this all down, like 20 minutes, it won't really capture the essence because all the fun parts, I was
Right.
busy doing things.
Right.
And then you have friends at meets now. It's not just me.
You know.
So now you're also hanging out with people and talking. So it's like you have time to sit around and just be cameraman.
Yeah.
So that's why most of you probably have not seen any filming of meets on the channel. It's because I just get too busy to actually really get into the filming mode and more of the participant mode.
Yeah, he goes straight into the garage and just starts wrenching on whatever. So it really will only happen if I can take a little bit of a charge and get some of the mics set up with Will and just go around interviewing people. I think that'd be cool.
But I think that's a great part of this podcast. I know a lot of you kind of know Michelle, but a lot of you don't, especially Festiva store stuff. If you've been ordering anything from the Festiva store for the past like 2 years, basically, she's been handling a ton of that. I still do a lot of the sourcing for stuff. I find things. I'm a good finder. But like when it comes to actually getting stuff packed, getting stuff boxed up, taped, running the website, Michelle spearheaded the entire switch to Shopify. We were on Square before, and now that we've switched over to Shopify, it has done fantastic boost for our like search engine optimization. Adding items is so much faster. International shipping is now taken care of automatically. So all you international people out there, listen to this. When you guys order from the store, it's so much quicker, it's so much easier, and that is all thanks to Michelle's work on Shopify.
When Shopify wants to start sponsoring us, I mean, I'm all for it because I'm a huge. I have lots of good things to say about it. Actually, one of the products.
So how does sponsorship even work? Because right now I'm paying them.
I know. I'm paying them, and also now talking a lot about them. But
maybe next time you call them, ask them to forward you over to the sponsorship line.
Check out this video we did about you guys. But one of the products, I was taking over a lot of things over last summer because I teach, so I have summers off normally. And I was doing a lot of stuff, and we had just gotten the new Samet Industries merch. And Will wanted me to put it on the store after we sent it out to all of our Patreon members. And I was trying to put it on the store, and it was just so annoying. I was like, this is ridiculous. And it was all just because of how Square worked. And so I was like, you know what? It's time. It had been an issue with shipping stuff as well. Like
and we got a warning.
Pockets of things had been left not in our ship station, and I was like, this is wrong. Also, if Ship Station wants to sponsor us, oh my gosh, I have a lot to say about them too.
But Square gave us a warning. They said, hey, your store will physically run slowly once you have more than 40 items.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how many do I have? And Square's like, you have 83 items. And I was like, oh.
They're just not, they're just not well equipped. And I'm sure maybe like Squarespace's, but we ended up going with Shopify. I saw a lot of good things about it. And that was kind of the Achilles heel last summer, because I was trying to get these shirts on and it was just too difficult. And then I discovered that people hadn't gotten their orders and nobody had said anything. And when I started looking at it and I was working with somebody with ShipStation, they were like, they just never got sent from Square. And so it was really frustrating to be paying so much for both services and something not work. And it was very sporadic. Like, sure, this shipment was in, but the other one wasn't, and the next one wasn't, but then the next one was. It made no sense. So I very quickly after that point said, we're making the switch. This will be good not only for us for more outreach, but it'll also be good for everybody else, because if you're not on the Facebook page, you probably don't see all of these amazing items that Will has sourced. So it only makes sense to get more reach if you have a better website, a better store that actually shows up quickly. So that was a huge thing that we did over the summer. We've added a ton of products since that over the summer. Obviously, the shirts are really cool. We still got a few left. But we even, spoiler alert, have some really cool things coming our way.
Yeah, new items.
Yeah.
So I've been working to source a bunch of stuff over the past 4 months now. I've been working with like 7 different suppliers, either from China, Japan, or Korea to get some new stuff over here. A lot of stuff that you guys have asked for in particular, a lot of stuff I've been just looking for. Most of it still in the works. However, I can confirm now we are for sure getting, within however long it takes China's sea mail, entire fuel pump assemblies. So not just the sending unit anymore, but we're talking the hanger, the pump itself, the filter, and the sending unit, all ready, anodized, just ready to bolt in and plug in and go. So we're getting those finally All people have those crusty, rusty, old sending units. Get ready for that. And then recently we had some people asking for the distributor sensors. So like the angle sensors built in the distributor. If you've ever had a distributor go bad on Festiva and lose spark, and you had to fix it by buying a whole new used distributor from somebody, this fixes that. All of our distributors will now be repairable. I should say all EFI distributors will now be repairable. So those are coming in soon, super cheap. You guys can fix distributors finally and keep these things on the road. The other big one, if anybody watched the coilover guide video, if you haven't, I suggest you do. I have hinted at the fact that I've been working with Rev9 to try to get some coilovers sent over, and that is making some great progress. Finally, I've got a contact in Rev9. We are working with them to have Rev9 coilovers basically sold directly on the Festiva store. And if what he's saying is good to go so far, you guys might not need to modify them to bolt on anymore. We're talking custom lowers for these coilovers that will make it bolt directly to your Festiva. No drilling, no machining, no grinding.
Seriously, so cool. I'm really hopeful that works out. I know a lot of people are super excited for that. A lot of people in the racing chat are very excited about that. So I'm hopeful that works out. It is tricky being CEO, being CFO, and somehow guiding this guy who is so incredible and knows so much and is really excited about everything, but also somehow not going bankrupt. So somehow we make it work. Somehow I make it work. Yeah,
I mean, a little X-ray vision here into how all of this works for anybody that doesn't know. We bought the store from Ben Williams. So we currently owe Ben Williams
basically our lives.
Number of digits worth of money for the inventory that he had already had from before. We owe most of my Chinese suppliers multiple digits of money for all the things we have from them.
We're making it work.
So when we buy stuff, I have to buy it in bulk so I can hold it here. We don't drop ship anything. Everything we sell is here in probably basically my house for the most part.
Yeah, we actually have 8 large boxes of combination switches just sitting in my living room.
Yeah, we just had 300 new combination switches delivered, which was, and I mean, like, we don't mark up stuff a ton, basically just enough to cover most of what we're doing here. So if you know how much those things cost, and I just told you that I ordered 400 of them, you'll have a good idea of how much that cost us then. And then we have to pay monthly for Shopify. We have to pay monthly for ShipStation. That's how we actually print labels and stuff. And we used to reuse every Amazon box, Amazon package we got to pack stuff. And then you guys jumped on the train. We're selling so much per month that we have to buy like custom sized boxes. We have to buy packing material now.
It just saves so much space now too.
It does help a ton to be able to flat pack brand new boxes, but like we are paying for like 3 services monthly plus packing material, and then I have to buy the items like 100 at a time for them to even be produced. Like, you know, China won't make me 10 items at a time. I get like 2 shipments, big shipments in every 3 or 4 months that cost us a ton. And then the only way we get that money back is from you guys buying things. So I don't know if we've actually made a profit yet in the store at all. Basically, every time you guys pay us or we have a big item that everybody loves and sells a ton of, that money goes right back into new inventory so that we can keep this train moving. So gotta say, your guys' support has been fantastic. Speaking of their support, we had a donation link on Square. I don't think we had the option on Shopify, but Square had a donation link for a while that said like PDF manual scanning donation link. And for all those who donated, wondering what was that about? Where'd my money go? We are finally getting manuals scanned. To get all 5 primary Festiva manuals scanned. So that's 88, 89 service manual, 88, 89 EVTM, 90s service manual.
Not just scanned, but also searchable.
Yeah, OCR'd. So we're talking like full OEM manual PDFs that you can control F any phrase and it will find that text and page. It's like a $400 or $500 service to get a whole book like that scanned. And that's destructive too. They're going to chop the spines off. I don't get these back. I just get the PDFs back and it's still like a few hundred, 500 something bucks after shipping.
And then on top of that, I had to count every single page in these 5 books
by hand.
So
because they're not numbered.
Enjoying those manuals online.
But like I think
of me.
Over half of that expense was paid by you guys for your donation links. So that's where it went to. So support like that and be able to give back to the community in that way is something I really enjoy doing. Helping you guys out is really what this is all about. Because like I said, we're not really making anything from this, at least not yet. Long term, I'd love to, because then I could like do this full time. Imagine if I had 8 hours a day to film videos and go talk to Chinese suppliers. That'd be super cool. We're not there yet, but maybe.
Yeah.
But thanks to you guys' support, we can do stuff like that. And now you guys are going to see the direct result of that. We're going to have PDF OEM manuals, searchable, available for free on the website, on the store. We can host files on the Facebook group in the Files tab. That should be within the next week or two.
Yeah.
By the time this video drops, it will probably only be like a week away from us having those files posted.
Absolutely. Very exciting stuff. Yeah.
So thank you to everybody that donated. People still to this day that leave tips on your order. We really appreciate that. That really helps keep the store going and keep us doing what we love to do. Because we both work full-time jobs. As Michelle mentioned, she's a teacher. So she's gone every day, 7 to 4, if not more. And I work full-time as an engineer. And my job's like 50 minutes away. So I'm gone 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. So like when I get home, we have a few hours of day, especially now in the winter, we have like no daylight. Yeah. I got a few hours to do things, then the weekend on which to finish my own projects, our house projects, and then do stuff for the store, do stuff for the channel, do stuff on Facebook.
And breathe.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, well.
This isn't a complaint, by the way. I love it.
Absolutely.
I love doing this stuff so much.
I think some people might still wonder why I put up with so much, why I will allow so many cars to be at my house, why I
like I said, the store it's like literally our entire bedroom in our house is just inventory and drawers to try to manage them, along with the old drawer stuff that live in our dining room. If any of you saw that on YouTube, I think we posted a short on there showing off the store a little bit.
Yeah,
and then even right now, about a few feet off camera that way is what's supposed to be the kitchen. You know what? Actually, I'll pick it.
No,
again, it's a pod. No, I'm going to do it. It's a podcast, so most of you won't see this, but this is stuff that I keep bringing into the house that I should be bringing back out to the garage and just keep forgetting about. But this is supposed to be the kitchen. It doesn't look like it from here.
Someday.
So there you go. Michelle, you have to say, how does she put up with it? I just saw your face just now. I would say that's pretty much the limit of putting up with it.
Absolutely. Well, listen, here's the thing, okay? Why'd I get into Festivas? Well, I was crazy, honeymoon, year 1. How could I not, right? He's adorable. Gosh. And then years went by and that honeymoon phase never quite disappeared. And as someone who just loves you tremendously, I want to do everything I can to continue to make you happy, help you grow as a person. And he just lights up when he talks about these silly cars, not only because of how much he likes these cars, but about how much he likes to help just the people that he talks to all the time. I cannot tell you how many times he's talking to somebody and he'll be on his phone. I'm like, who are you even talking to? And I don't even know who this person is. And he's just helping them.
I don't even know who this person is.
He doesn't know who these people are. But he's just helping them get through whatever it is, whatever's broken on their car. Because a lot of people that drive these cars, maybe it's your only car for a while. And this is what's getting you to A or B. Or maybe it's your fun car that you're modifying. And so seeing Will light up when he talks about these things makes it worth it to contribute as much time and effort as I do, not only into the store, but into the garage and all of the other projects here and there. I definitely do try to keep a lid on it, but, from time to time, steering a Will Samet in the right direction can be definitely challenging.
I think we're going to have another podcast, maybe with Tommy, talking about hoarding, particularly.
Yes.
But we live in the city. I'm used to growing up in the country, so used to having big wide open spaces where you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Now that we live in the city, that's kind of helped keep a cap on things because there's literally only so much physical space I can fit a car into. Lord knows I've been trying.
Yes.
But I think that's been helping.
Yeah.
And,
thankfully, we don't have a large piece of land because it would be full. I actually kind of wonder how this interview would go if Tommy was the one hosting and asking me questions. I think we would hit some pretty hard topics in terms of, girl, you crazy. But, you do it because you love the guy, and I've made a lot of friends this way. Like, there's a lot of really amazing people in this
At some point, they're going to get it. Some point, this podcast is just going to turn into a big argument. I know Steve wants to come on here and talk about how an E-Series is okay to put on a B6T. So, and then I know Tom likes to argue just for the sake of arguing.
Why not? I don't blame him.
I think that was 3 hours of Festiva last year. It was sitting around the fire.
Love that guy.
With them and Steven and Frank.
My gosh, to get Frank on a podcast, that sounds riveting.
I think he'd do it.
I think
That'd probably be our longest episode yet.
Yes.
if Frank just want to tell any story that he felt like would be a fun one to tell.
Any trip he's taken. But here's the requirement. It has to be in a Festiva. He drives his Miata quite a lot.
It's true.
So let's see if he can pull some of those out. But hey, I really appreciate you guys joining us, hanging out for a while.
Well, I think from this point on, I think the next time we host a podcast, I think you're going to be the one doing the interview.
Am I qualified? What do you guys think?
The reason I'm doing this interview is because I know Michelle quite well. It happens when you live together. I am terribly socially awkward. The YouTube channel is helping me get over some of that. I used to hate the sound of my own voice, but when you start editing videos and you play back the same 10 seconds of video 17 times trying to get the right cut, and you hear yourself say the same 10 words over and over for hours on end, you get a little used to it.
Do you think you'll get annoyed by my beautiful voice while you're editing?
No, because your voice sounds to me the same as it does on the laptop. If you listen to your own voice, that's when it sounds different. You hearing yourself on a mic versus your own head, that's that disconnect.
Yeah, during the dark months where everybody was online, I had to teach online and record a ton of videos, and just editing those videos were always really hard for me too. So,
but compared to me, Michelle's a social butterfly. So I get awkward. Even with people I know, sometimes I get awkward. If I don't know people, I'm very quiet. And Michelle's not. She's a great public speaker. She's a fantastic teacher. And she really knows how to pull a conversation through or keep it on track.
Well, so hopefully you guys all agree. Hopefully our listeners are on board for hopefully me hosting a couple of these episodes solo, or at least co-hosting with you. I think that'll be super fun.
You are the other Samet of Samet Industries. So true. It just makes sense.
You know what? There's actually my own video of me working on the RX-8, and maybe, just maybe, we can get that out of the archives if this video gets enough likes. That would be really cool. Because I worked hard recording that, and I said a lot of words during that. So,
how many likes do you think an average video of mine gets?
I don't know. I'm shooting for the stars. That video will not see the light of day until we get, call it 10,000?
10,000 what? Likes or views?
Yeah. 10,000 likes.
10,000 views, maybe.
I'm saying 10,000 likes.
I don't think I have many videos that got over 100 likes.
Don't care. Otherwise, nobody needs to see that video.
Okay, well, I'm not usually one to do this then, but if everybody could please like and subscribe.
Make it happen.
Seriously, though, if the more content you guys want to see, if I can start getting paid for this stuff, then it makes it easier for me to decrease how much I do at my real job and make this my real job.
Yeah.
So I don't normally...
Or at least make the argument to your financial advisor.
Yes. But seriously, YouTube, the algorithm is crazy. Like my analytics dashboard, YouTube looks at every tiny thing. Like when if you open a video, watch the first few seconds, then close it, all right, there's a view. Yes, the view counter goes up, but YouTube knows when somebody's closed it. So all my videos have 20% retention rate. Only 20% of you guys watch them to the end, which is fine. I don't watch all of my YouTube subscriptions to the end. So It happens. But in general, YouTube looks at all this stuff when it comes time to tracking how many hours I get and how I get paid. But so likes, subscriptions, you guys commenting on videos, that interaction back and forth with the channel, they count interactions as a huge thing. Watching it all the way through. And that's what's great about the podcast. If you guys just want to put this in the background or something, just have it playing for your dog when you're away from work, whatever it takes. But it's how many watch hours I get right now that determines whether or not YouTube starts to pay me. So if you guys watch a few hours worth of video all the way through, I think we're almost we're 2/3 of the way there.
Sure.
I went from being maybe a 10th of the way most years to this year we're past half now.
Well, hopefully now that you have me involved, that won't be such an issue. I don't want to toot my own horn.
Maybe we could double team some stuff. I can be out in the garage filming a video for a guide. You can be in here doing a podcast.
Crazy. We'll see.
You can do the dog.
But I do appreciate everybody here listening, joining with us. Stay tuned for more. And
I think so. I mean, the numbers will tell if anybody liked this or hated it. But until next time, thank you guys for hanging out. And we'll
see you next time.
See ya.